Okay, so the trailer for Wicked Little Letters, I watched quite a lot. Um, it was mainly out of intrigue. I mean, the two characters. So you got Olivia Colman as Edith and Jessie Buckley. It's a two-header as Rose. They're both on screen, and any other trailer I probably would have considered quite immature, but this one, the two of them throwing insults to the sound of Baccarat's "Yes, Sir, I Can Boogie" was just hilarious. Olivia's character, she stood there and she's like, "You think of coming, checking your tits look like falling out some fucking cheeks, fucking asshole," and it's so quick that I still don't actually know what she's saying in the trailer. But then Jessie Buckley's character hits back with, "You look like fucking Queen Victoria shoved a fucking needle up her fucking pussy." And it's like, wow. So the trailer, instant drawing for me. I as I say, I watched it loads and it was really entertaining. Additionally, in the trailer, there's loads of the whole like slap, 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 slap letters hitting doormats, which is the whole, it sort of pivots around the whole concept of the film itself. And it was just like shit, fuck, shit, slap, 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 fuck, shit. Excellent. Trailer, 100 out of 100. I was really, really looking forward to Wicked Little Letters. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out as hilarious as I wanted it to. It could have had a hell of a lot more slapstick. So I will start with the positives, as always. It's based on the true story of the Littlehampton Letters, a sort of trolling of the 1920s. I'm very, very familiar with Littlehampton, actually. My mum used to live down just around the corner from Littlehampton. And yeah, ironically, a very, very old school friend who still lives down in Littlehampton, she sent me screenshots of a letter that I'd written her as a kid on Facebook a little while ago. And yeah, so, you know, all of this, it was stirring the whole, the memoirs for me, I guess. So yeah, I was really into this film. Devout Christian Edith Swan, she basically lives with her extremely sort of oppressive, strict father, and she leads this straight-laced existence. She's very academic, she's very intelligent, very well respected in the community. All of a sudden, she becomes a victim of someone's hate mail. So someone's writing letters to her, and like page after page hits the doormat, as shown in the trailer, slagging her off, mocking her dress sense, her lifestyle, etc. So yeah, it makes it that little bit more fascinating, the fact that it's based on a true story. I love things like this. So yeah, Edith, very straight-laced, very well respected, starts being trolled. And you know, unlike what the kids are used to these days, you actually had to put pen to paper. So yeah, she lives with her father and her mother, I think it is. On the other side of the wall, so her next door neighbour is Rose Gooding. She's an Irish migrant who's she's basically Edith's foul-mouthed, rowdy, quite wayward next door neighbour. So it kicks off, the letter trolling kicks off straight away, and it's naturally sort of leads back to Rose because of how who she is, where she's from, what she's like, her personality. And yeah, she becomes the accused of the poison pen letters. So thus begins Rose's arrest, subsequent trial, and the doubts of a few locals who actually set out on their own little manhunt to capture the real culprit. So it's sort of, it hangs in the balance, you know, is it Rose? Is it not? Everything points to her, but then a few neighbours sort of get involved. And it's, yeah, the story itself, it's sort of, it's simple. This film is probably something of a like rare gem, like a cult guilty pleasure. Two neighbours who have once grown apart, who were once close, have grown apart over the years, and their differences are amplified once the shit hits the fan and all these spiteful letters start being sent to people all over Littlehampton and the sort of surrounding Sussex areas. It's easy to follow. It's carried nicely by an ensemble who, although effective, kind of do seem to disintegrate into the background very bloody quickly. And yeah, it's got a slight echo of my childhood as well. So I didn't write anything as nasty, I don't think. But it does remind me of me and school friends years ago, back in like the late 80s, early 90s. Yeah, when me and friends, we used to write to each other, actual pen to paper, either posted across town or just slipped through their letterbox just down the street. And sometimes, it was like, sometimes it was a case of, hope you had fun at swimming yesterday. I'm having burgers for dinner tonight. What are you having? Will you come to town tomorrow to test that new Lynx? Just utter crap. Just free of responsibility, and nothing like what you'd have to probably write a letter to about something to someone now. But yeah, so you'd have all that. That it really reminded me of all that sort of social, when you put pen to paper as a child. So yeah, sometimes you'd have like, oh, let's go to the park tomorrow. I'm so glad you're my friend. Other times, however, we did get caught up in the whole like, you're a cow. I know you went to the park with Lee yesterday, you fucking liar. Thought you were my friend, you bitch. I'm not playing out with you tomorrow, that kind of thing. I want my Goosebump book back. Or I think actually a friend stole a Goosebumps VHS when I was about sort of early teens. Yeah, it's quite different to you're a sad stinky bitch and a sad rabbit fucker, as penned by Edith in Wicked Little Letters. But yeah, it did. It really sort of honed in on the whole on the memories of when I used to write letters and receive letters back, because sending never came without receiving. As a child, I like this. So yeah, Wicked Little Letters did that for me. It brought back the whole. It captured the essence of my childhood. Yeah. So, writing letters, I guess, was a sort of staple communication of the sort of early to mid 90s. If I didn't have sort of 10p for a phone box, I'd steal a stamp out of my mum's purse. It was fantastic. So yeah, right. The positives of Wicked Little Letters, ironically, it could be sort of comparable to the Seaside, because it's set in Littlehampton, seaside by the sea. The Seaside puppet show, like Punch and Judy. So you've got the anxious, handcuff-wielding policeman, the straight-laced housewife, who's quite suppressed as well, the village tart, older characters, the courtroom judge. It's just lacking a crocodile, basically. So it's a jaunt. It's a seaside jaunt with undertones of absolute control, as seen in scenes between Edith and her father. It sort of it lances the whole a woman should know her place kind of type theme. So it's actually set during the suffragette era, women being difficult, that kind of thing. So as well as portraying the bitterness between these two women who actually like each other, Rose and Edith. So yeah, could be comparable to Punch and Judy. It was for me, but I think a few scenes really do sort of they really focus on, because it gets quite serious. So there's a mutual respect all the way through, I think, with these characters deep down, albeit a battle between them. So, like two kids in a playground who display nothing but contempt for each other. Ultimately, they're drawn back to each other because of their feelings and who they actually are. They're actually friends deep down. Edith, there's a few sort of curtain twitching moments of her sort of stood pulling the net back, looking down over Rose as she's like having fun out in the courtyard with friends and her daughter and what have you. So yeah, there's this solid divide between their existences, which I quite liked. It paints that brilliantly, of how two completely different characters in different worlds can come together. Right, so let's see. Olivia Colman, ideal in this role. The drab costume and suppressed character suits her perfectly. I usually can't stand Olivia Colman. Side note, everything she's in, she's exactly bloody set. Do you know what I mean? In Peep Show, it's like, I like you, Mark, but I don't love it. And then in another film, she'll be almost exactly the same. Sort of West Country drama school girl. I can't abide her. Basically, I don't. I'm not a massive fan of Olivia Colman. In this, though, she was ideal. So you never know. My opinion on her might be stepping up a notch. She's very entertaining because her wide-eyed sort of shocked. It's very pantomime. Her facial expressions at the beginning, she's like emptying the bath. Because that's what they did in those days. Shit chucked out in the street, and she's all like very wide-eyed, like the body gestures, and she sees a neighbour and she's like, oh, I'll say hello, how are you? Like, sort of goes in and shuts the door. She is brilliant here. So yes, I think I am actually getting to like the woman. But very I say attitude, and it's good. The jaunty music, like I mentioned, did I mention? Probably not. Okay, so the jaunty music adds to the dark comedy aspect of it. It's like a sort of saucy British postcard, the British seaside postcards, just without the beach balls and sort of thongs, I guess. It's that kind of thing. It's got a twist of that, and it's the sordid language and spite that then escalates through the film. It just oozes from the screen with the backdrop of like the post World War I Sussex. So it's quite a contradiction of a film. It's like it's hilarious, but it's very dark, and it's set post World War One, but they're all having a laugh, and it's all it's great. Timothy Spall is in there as a spiteful, sort of very suppressive father. He's incredibly aggressive. He plays his role to absolute perfection. There is nothing more I can say on the guy. So yeah, that'll be the characters and the main sort of gist of the plot. Now, the language, was there enough? I wanted more, basically. In addition to slight slapstick, which I also wanted more of. I needed more swearing and more words or phrases that would make me howl with laughter. Another side note, when I was in the auditorium, I sort of tried to gauge the reactions of other cinema goers. And there wasn't a hell of a lot of laughing. The people, it wasn't packed out, but the people who were in the cinema, there was enough of them. There wasn't enough reaction. So there was an extremely brief moment in. So if I'm sort of focusing on the language again, there was this brief moment focusing on the content that's written as the camera sort of pulls in and out, showing various letters and sort of swirly handwriting, shows them being written with the author. I'll try not to give it away. I swear, if I slip up, fucking hell, I'll have to start again. But the person sort of narrating, and it's like, dear Mr. Tucker, you take it up the arse 15 times a day whilst being force-fed Brussels sprouts and fed dog shit or something like that. And it's like really, it's really fucking immature, and it's directed. It couldn't be more personal. So it's like, dear Mrs. Colman, I've seen your miserable face walking about town as if you fucking own it. Perhaps some makeup will attract the men, or perhaps you're into women. And it's like, dear Mrs. Wilson, call that a face? More like Monet has vomited all over it and then lit a match. Also, and it's like, it starts to like, there's this, and then it's dear Mr. Brown, and it's so there's only like just like a few snippets of what's happening, of what's being penned, before the letters again start slapping and hitting the doormats and stuff. Like I say, the insults are direct and they're harsh, focusing on mainly people's appearances, which make them way more interpersonal. And they're so immature that that's what makes them funny. It's the shock value, I think, of how a person of that character's age could be so fucking horrible. Seriously. But again, I wanted more. And the focus was sort of drawn away almost immediately here, and it left me sort of thirsty for more poison pen hate, and I didn't get it. It just sort of, the story sort of just it barrels on, basically. So right, what's that? The story, the characters, the poison pen, the fucking insult. I still can't tell what she's saying in the trailer. You look like, quick, what is it? No. Your face, you stink of cum and shit, and your tits like falling out some fucking sheep's fucking asshole. I can't, I don't know what shit, something falling out some fucking sheep's fucking asshole. I don't know. And I've tried subtitles, believe me. Right, so the negative aspect of the films. Right. Although Wicked Little Letters kept me entertained, it just didn't have the desired effect on me in any way. I mean, it lacked the level of slapstick that I was expecting. The trailer is actually a higher level of this than the film itself. So halfway through, it sort of meanders off more into a sort of more of a period drama than a black comedy, which I was actually quite surprised about. Yes, it's wickedly funny in parts, but I wanted the jittery policeman to have like an imperfection or a strange habit of some sort. Him tripping over during, there's I say scene, it's not even a scene, it's just a split-second moment where a few of the coppers are sort of strutting down the street, like ready for action. I wanted the nervous copper to trip up or something. Just that, it would have changed the whole course of the humor, I think, for me in this film. Didn't happen. I wanted direct punches, characters slip slapping and falling backwards like they do in something. Didn't get it. Like boosh, falling back like a domino. Wasn't there. Trips, slaps, open mouth shocks. I got barely anything at all. This whole thing, wicked little letters, it just sort of wanders off into like a film for like personal sort of drab and dreary drama. Seriously, I was quite disappointed when I left the cinema, and I think also that's because I'd watched the trailer so much that I had really hyped it up. Word of advice: don't do that. I've learned the hard way now. If there's a film I really want to see, like I think, well, Barbie was probably an example, even though it was still brilliant. But if there's a film I really want to see that I watched the trailer for loads, I go watch the film, and I'm just like, oh right, okay, just shat on it myself. So the auditorium as well was there was enough people, but it wasn't packed out, and there was no reactions really that I could sort of get. Few laughs here and there. The cameos, right? Although the cameos throughout Wicked Little Letters keep the film sort of fresh and varied. You've got Joanna Scanlon, Eileen Atkins, etc. If you are not familiar with any of the British actors who pop, I think they're British. If you're not familiar with any of these actors who pop up throughout the film, then you'll probably be sat there feeling like, well, firstly, who the fuck's that? And also, like, if you're watching it like I were, if you're not familiar with any of these people, you'll be sort of like left with this feeling of these people should be established characters or actors, yet you're sort of wondering who the fuck they are. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a scene, there is a bit of slapstick where Rose gets twatted in the face with a garden shovel, and the woman who comes on, the character, she comes walking on, and it's like, her whole presence, I was like, who are you? Do you know? I mean, God, strike me down for not being like the A to Z of British actors, but I had no idea who she was, and I was sort of like, right, so this woman should be well known, but I haven't got foggiest who she is. So yeah, unless you're really familiar with the cameos, you'll probably be left sitting wondering. Right, so just to round up, Wicked Little Letters. It's a curious concept and a fascinating real life story. If you do pop online and type the little, just search for the Littlehampton Letters, you'll actually see photos of both women, who was arrested, who wasn't, and how the story panned out. It's I mean, it's like I say, it's by these two, by Jessie Buckley and Olivia Colman. They're both very, very strong, and they couldn't have played it any better. But it just the film itself for me just didn't have enough slapstick. I loved the filthy language. Dear Mr. Wilson, you dirty little rabbit fucker, taking out the arse 15 times a day while your wife goes off and has an affair. That kind of thing. Like the pathetic, that poison pen lingo that goes into it. It was brilliant, but there was not enough of it. Yeah, no. So, wasn't enough of that. There was enough of the whole sort of suppressed housewives, women should know their place. Very, like, this is one for the feminists. A lot of sexism, but intertwined with that is the whole relationships, like how two completely different worlds collide, and how different personalities can actually gel and come together and be friends, which can disintegrate almost immediately, like a few years down the line. So yeah, there's a few themes here and there, but it wasn't funny enough, and I was left quite disappointed by Wicked Little Letters. You might think it's a guilty pleasure, something of a rare gem, but yeah, it's I don't know. Yeah, I was disappointed. I'm on the fence with this one. Just fuck. Why? They had the characters. They had the characters right there. The copper, the older ones, the slag next door. They didn't utilize them enough. They just didn't. So yeah. And like I say, it was reminiscent of writing letters to people, like down the street as a kid. My God, I still remember Troll. Fuck, that's ironic, isn't it? I had Troll writing paper. The fluffy pink hair trolls, the little pudgy eyes and stuff. Oh my God, yeah, I had Troll writing paper, and that was used to spitefully say, "You're a fucking cow. Can't believe you went to the park with him instead of me. Give me my Goosebumps VHS back." Shame. I think it got around to being a bit more harsh than that. But yeah, those days of pen to paper and writing letters, I think that lends to the authenticity of Wicked Little Letters, actually. The fact that it is a trolling of the era. I mean, before Twitter got to us, before various people got to each other through Twitter, the fact that it's pen to paper, it's just like the original trolling. Right, on to the next one.